Blog Talk Radio.
Hi there, I'm Mary Eileen Williams at Feisty Side of 50 Radio, and this show is a celebration of baby boomers who are embracing life as we grow older. Yet it's obvious that if we want to continue to celebrate our lives as we age, we have to be mindful of how we nourish our bodies, and that's why I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Stephen Perrine. Stephen is a New York Times best-selling author and an AARP executive editor who joins us to share all about his soon-to-be-released and highly regarded new book, The Full Body Fat Fix. The subtitle is The Science-Based 7-Day Plan to Cool Inflammation, Heal Your Gut, and Build a Healthier, Leaner You. And this life-changing information is based on cutting-edge science from around the world and the world's foremost researchers, and it focuses on the importance of gut health, weight reduction, reversing chronic inflammation, and helping us to prevent the diseases of aging. Boy, am I excited to get going with this. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate it.
Well, and for especially the boomer generation, your book is a godsend. I mean, it's my new health Bible, I will say. So I'd like to begin by congratulating you. And the book is going to be released in a few days on May 21st. But I know you've already received enthusiastic endorsements, and one of them being Dr. Dean Ornish and the other being Dr. Will Cole. So I know you've been a best-selling author before, but this new release has got to be exciting.
Both of the doctors who endorsed the book used in their write-up used the word fun, and that is not a word that you typically associate with a diet book and a weight loss program. But that's exactly what I was trying to do, is to create something that was a lot of fun to do.
Well, and as a reader, because I got an early copy, it is fun, and I'm going to use the term exciting a bunch because really exciting, the new science, as you put it, of weight management is way more exciting and delicious than we could imagine. That was in the book, too. But you even advocate eating a little ice cream if you want to satisfy our sweet tooth. I mean, there's all sorts of exciting and fun surprises in this book.
The primary point I wanted to get across with this is that we're not enough healthy, fun, interesting foods. So the primary today we think about obesity as being a disease, and that's a great way for people who are concerned about obesity to not feel stigmatized, to feel okay about going forward and treating obesity. But the reality is that obesity is not a disease. It's a symptom of a larger disease, and that larger disease is chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the culprit behind not just obesity, but heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, COPD. It's even been linked to Alzheimer's. It's behind several forms of cancer. So when you try to treat obesity by losing weight, you're really just trying to treat a house fire by turning on the air conditioning. You've got to get in there and figure out what's causing the inflammation. And it turns out that the master controller of inflammation in the body is the gut microbiome.
Wow. I mean, that is, now that I know, I mean, I was just thinking gut microbiome is a fairly common term at this point, but it's only been the last, 10, 12 years that people have really realized, even physicians and researchers, the importance of the gut health, right?
Even gastroenterologists 20 years ago were being told that all the gut microbiome, 100 trillion microbes that live inside you, primarily in your large intestine, all they did was aid in digestion. Now we know that not only are they the master controller of inflammation, but they produce 95% of the serotonin in your body, which is why gut health is linked to depression, anxiety, and sleep disorders. They produce the majority of oxytocin, which is that bonding hormone, which is why people who are socially isolated tend to have less healthy microbiomes than people who are popular and socially active. So the ramifications of not taking care of your microbiome are pretty enormous, both physically and psychologically. but no one has ever really come out and say, okay, here's how you do it. Now, recently a study came out that found that people with the healthiest microbiomes were people who ate at least 30 different plants in a given week. Why is that important? Because you have around 5,700 different species of microbes living in you. Each one of them has a different appetite. It's like a national park. It's like a Yosemite of you, right? So not all of the animals that live in Yosemite eat exactly the same food, and that's true of your gut microbiome as well. So you need to eat a wide variety of foods in order to feed the microbiome and keep it healthy, keep the diversity robust, and keep inflammation and all the health issues that come with it, under wraps. Problem is, there are 50,000 edible plants growing on Earth today, but 2/3 of the plants that we eat in America are just 3 species: wheat, rice, and corn. So we're starving our microbiome, and because of that, we're increasing in inflammation, and that is the source of the obesity crisis and so many of the other diseases that are happening in today's society.
Wow. Well, Stephen, that alone is going to excite readers to want to read this book, because I know you're a big believer in variety is the spice of life. But when they talk about these 3 main foods are the sources of what most people eat, and then you also point to processed foods as being, you and many other researchers as being, one of the causes of inflammation and disease. But so you're a big advocate in eating as many vegetables and fruit sources as many vegetable and fruit sources as we can, right?
Right, and so 30 different plants a week, it's not as hard as it seems. That's grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, vegetables, and fruits. So, in fact, there's even in the book, The Firefighting 5, which shows you how you could get 30 different plants into one day just by eating a smoothie, pasta, a dessert, a pizza, and a steak sandwich. If you can live on pizza, pasta, and a steak sandwich every day, you're going to be okay. But, that variety and that diversity is so critical, because even people who eat plenty of vegetables, the reality is half of the vegetables that we eat in America are just 2 plants: white potatoes and tomatoes.
Yeah, boy. I mean, well, and I, in addition to the variety, and 2, when you just laid out the 5 not superfoods, but the 5 foods that you recommend at least, for eating. I mean, that's another idea that it's a fun and really interesting book and easy to follow too. But there are certain things that lately or the last several years, have gotten the terminology superfoods. So what is your take on superfoods?
I think the only superfood out there is the one that you didn't eat today. Superfoods, we keep thinking that we're told, okay, almonds, blueberries, oatmeal, those are all superfoods, they tell us. So if we just eat almonds and blueberries and oatmeal every day for breakfast, we're going to be in great shape. But the reality is, when we focus on a handful of superfoods, whether they're kale or what have you, we're limiting the variety of the foods that we eat. The average person eats the same breakfast 2 or 3 times every week. So if you ignore the whole idea that some foods are better than others, and focus on the fact that a variety of foods is the best way to go, you're going to be feeding that microbiome, and it's going to help reduce that inflammation. And
well, you had mentioned
processed foods. You mentioned also processed foods, and I just wanted to say this shocking fact. We've known for years that ultra-processed foods cause inflammation, but nobody's really been able to explain why. Well, it turns out that ultra-processed foods, or I like to call them pre-digested foods, they're foods that have had all of the nutrients, the fiber and everything stripped out, additives put in, and when we eat an ultra-processed food, whether it's a croissant or a bag of chips or what have you, those foods are digested very, very quickly in our stomach and our small intestine. and they never get down into the microbiome. So what is also interesting is that the microbiome competes with us for calories. So if you eat 2,000 calories of ultra-processed foods and I eat 2,000 calories of whole foods, you're going to absorb up to 400 calories a day more than I will, because my microbiome is going to eat the whole foods that I feed it, while your microbiome is going to get starved.
Gosh, the way you explained it, it just comes to light. I mean, it's actually quite simple and exciting. Again, I'm using that word exciting. But I did want to get back to, you had mentioned protein or breakfast, and I just finished my breakfast of blueberries, a little Greek yogurt, and oatmeal. So there you go. But you are big on protein being very important, and I know you suggest, well, tell us a little bit about the smoothie you suggest and why protein is so important, especially for us boomers, because we are, I hate to say it, but, not so forever young anymore.
All right. Well, make a muscle, like bend your elbow, feel that bicep right there. That's about 5% of the skeletal muscle in your body. That is how much we lose every decade after age 30. And the reason we lose muscle after age 30 is because our bodies develop something called anabolic resistance, which means we can't turn the protein in our food into muscle as easily as we once did. So our bodies are constantly breaking down and building back up muscle. But if you're not able to take the protein in food and turn it into muscle, you're in muscle loss mode every day. So we need to start our day with at least 25 to 30 grams of protein, which is enough to press that make muscle button and get our bodies maintaining muscle so we're not losing it. So that also plays a major role in weight management, because muscle stores extra blood sugar in the form of glycogen, and that helps to prevent diabetes and weight gain and inflammation.
Gee. Well, Stephen, I've got so many questions for you, so I hope you can stick around for a few more. One of them being organic produce. That's a lot of people, are on a budget, and organic produce oftentimes does cost a little bit more. But what are your suggestions? Should we save up and make sure that we eat only organic? And I know there's the dirty dozen and that. What are your thoughts on that?
Organic produce is great, but it is more important to eat a variety of plants than it is to focus on organic plants, right? So organic is that's great. And the reason it's especially good for us is that, a lot of our crops are raised with, fungicides and pesticides, and those chemicals kill off bugs. And guess what lives in your gut? Bugs.
Oh, yeah.
So the more chemicals you're exposed to, the more damage happens to your microbiome. But still, feeding the microbes and making sure that they get enough to munch on is the most important thing.
Well, gosh, this is such helpful information. But there's one thing in your book. You do, provide pretty much a promise that if we follow your guidelines, we can actually see real changes in our weight and, overall health in as little as perhaps 1 week. So is this one of those it's too good to be true thing, or can we really make those kind of changes?
It's not at all too good to be true. So the Full Body Fat Fix it starts with a 7-day challenge. And one of the things that you're doing in a 7-day challenge is trying to get as many different plants into your diet as possible. Keeping a record, you're aiming for north of 30. When I did it, I got to 65 different plants.
Wow.
And what you're doing at the same time during this first 7 days is you're significantly reducing all these processed foods and refined grains. That's going to spark an immediate weight loss, because our body, when it stores carbohydrates, it needs to store about twice as much water to hold on to each of those carbohydrates. So as you're cutting simple carbs out of that first part of your program, your body's going to release all that water weight. So it will very quickly show some results. But the more important thing is not what you weigh a week from now or 2 weeks from now. It's what you weigh a year from now or 2 years from now.
Yeah.
What's critical is to really stop weight gain and begin to reverse it.
Oh, my gosh, Stephen. Well, I mean, and I've been around, and I think our audience, the people that are listening to this, have been around long enough, and I've tried, over the years a number of diets, that really what you do want to do is make a sustainable plan that is healthy, that is delicious, that is exciting, and that might have ice cream in it once in a while, so that we can actually, like you say, we can build these health, promoting habits that will keep us around for a long time. And there are so many wonderful tips and techniques in your book. I hate to just, like I said, I could keep you forever. I don't want to do that. That's not fair to you. But do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience before we have to close?
Well, people will tell you that you need to lose weight to be healthy. And that's reversed. You need to be healthy to lose weight. So if you're focusing on eating for health, the weight loss will come with it. And what the full body fat fix is about, it's not about a diet. I like to call it more like a scavenger hunt. In fact, could you beat? I got 65 in a week. Can you beat me? As far as I'm concerned, I'm the world record holder. Can you beat me? Can you start a competition with your friends and your family and see who can get to the most plants in 7 days? It ought to be a lot of fun, and it's going to set you on a path to long-term health.
Well, I'm gonna take that challenge, Stephen. I'll let you know. 65 seems like a lot, but it's right. I want my bugs to have I want each one of them to be happily well fed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not eating for one. You're eating for 100 trillion and one.
I want my Yosemite to be happy. Oh, Stephen, this has been such a delight. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your expertise, and, of course, this incredibly helpful information.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, and for you listeners out there, make sure that May 21st, you get on Amazon or go to your local bookstore, or you'll find this book everywhere, and there's a link in the description to it, The Full Body Fat Fix, because you are going to find a wealth of tips, techniques, and strategies, and a whole lot of fun, like you can just tell from our conversation, that will help you achieve and maintain your optimal health and weight management goals for years ahead. So until next time, this is Mary Eileen Williams. Go ahead, Stephen.
Order it now and make sure
I thought you said
on Tuesday.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah. So until next time, this is Mary Eileen Williams at Feisty Side of 50 Radio, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.